Twoje miejsce docelowe jest właśnie tutaj. Typowy kierowca autobusu. Jesteś na miejscu. Zapraszam do oglądania. Jarosław Juszkiewicz.
Is it not the seats? Oh,
yeah, it is. And that's where we took a lot of photos on it.
With the umbrellas on.
I feel like no, just trees are right
on the left
too.
Didn't expect that.
The hot chocolate. That's so funny.
Behind this building, actually.
Yeah, I don't see Gerald Fosh. Where is he?
And I just don't like the teacher's muscles and stuff, so I feel like it'll be like that.
We'll just try it though.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow I think the texture will be doing it down.
Yeah, I feel like it'll taste good, just a texture.
Team, do you want to see something pretty?
Sure.
Just look to the right. Catch a glimpse of the tower.
Oh my god, I was at the walls.
And now he's scaffolding for the games. Alright, keep watching, keep watching. There she is again.
Wow.
And that's all. That's it. We're going home now. We're going home. Do you guys get your photos? Alrighty, clip it. Let's go. Oh, people move.
Cab's not fucking around tonight.
He's like the French chef. Alrighty, team. You see the tower. We can go home now. There you go. There's a little glimpse of the Eiffel Tower. So you will see a lot of this scaffolding and stands. That's just for the Olympic Games. So there's not too much we can do about that. In the meantime, we can show you some other things. So let me formally welcome you to Paris. Bienvenue à Paris, mes amis. Welcome to Paris, my friends. Paris itself is known for pretty much the buildings you see on either side of the coach right now. This is a typical Parisian avenue. However, Paris not always used to look like this. It used to be a very dirty, dark, dingy city until they did a bit of a revamp. Basically, in 1830, there was a guy, he was a cousin of Napoleon. Napoleon was long dead by now, but Napoleon III, his cousin, was a big fan. And the guy had way too much money, so he decided, you know what, I'm going to work with the architect, Baron Haussmann, and they basically revamped the entire city of Paris to what we now know that Paris is. Because before that, they didn't have like any cobblestone streets, it was just dirt, muck, kind of gross. But we are currently driving on Avenue Jean-Baptiste Kléber. This is one of the main 12 avenues that come together in the big square that houses you know, a tiny building, like a small monument. It's called Arc de Triomphe. You'll see it in a second. Basically, Pat and I are just going to try and show you some things here and there, left, right, and center. So I might just quickly divert your attention by saying, on the left this, on the right that, and then you know, as if it's like a tennis game, you just go back and forth, yeah? So if you want to see some things, just look wherever I point you. Yeah, basically the big avenues in Paris are now a staple. These buildings were laid out in a very particular way. So basically it all follows the same pattern. That none of these buildings have like front gardens or yards at all. Basically the lower levels were for actual residents, but also storefronts, etc. And then all the way up top you have a tiny little tin roof, and that was the chambre de bonne. Chambre de bonne was basically the room for the maid or for the housekeeper. So all of these beautiful buildings have like a complete like top layer with a tiny like loft type of area. Very small, but this basically has the best views over the city of Paris. So it used to be the quarters for the maids, and you know, the most like poor of the city, like the working class, are now the most sought after apartments and lots in all of Paris, which is fantastic. So, like I said, Paris has 11 million people living here. A lot of people. And in order to kind of, you know, disperse this equally throughout the city is cut up into arrondissements. Arrondissement in English just means neighborhood. Basically, every single neighborhood has their own municipal hall and their own mayor, and then there's one overarching mayor, which is Anne Hidalgo, or Anne Hidalgo, if you want to really butcher that name. But she's the mayor of Paris. But every single arrondissement has its own very distinct character, own town hall. People can vote for local issues, which is fantastic. They do referendums all day, every day, because the French love their voice to be heard. So yeah, we are currently in the center of the city, so the first couple of arrondissements. I just want to quickly jump down so you can quickly see where we are. We are about to drive onto one of the busiest roundabouts in the city. This is Place Charles de Gaulle, or Place d'Étoile. There is no right of way.
I've took a look at us.
When you go, you go. If you look to the left-hand side, you see Arc de Triomphe, or in English, the Triumph Arch. This beautiful arch was commissioned by Napoleon to commemorate his victory in his 1805 battles. However, before this was finished, the guy had already died, so Napoleon never actually saw the finalized product. You may see that there's some dumbasses crossing the road. You're not supposed to. There's actually an underground tunnel for pedestrians that you're supposed to use. If you cross the road, you might die. You never know. It is said that every 20 minutes there's an accident on this roundabout, and I think it's been about 19 and a half minutes, so...
You will arrive at your
on the left-hand side, Arc de Triomphe, Triumph Arch, every single pillar, the 4 pillars, has a very distinct character. So one is dedicated to the generals of Napoleon, one is dedicated to the battles, one is dedicated to the arts and the crafts, and one is dedicated to Napoleon himself, humble man that he was. Right in the middle of the Arc de Triomphe, on the floor, there is the eternal flame. On top of the tomb of the unknown soldier. This tomb was installed in the 1920s in homage to soldiers that gave their life for their fatherland, for their home country, during wars anywhere and everywhere in the world. Basically, the tomb houses, well, you guessed it, an unknown soldier from the First World War or the Great War, and this flame has been burning ever since. There's only been a few occasions where the flame was extinguished. One was during the Second World War, and there was also one back in 2007 when a very displeased football fan decided to piss on the flame and extinguish it after his team lost. Bit of a bummer. So yeah, now it's under surveillance 24/7. So yeah, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and this is the place that I recommend you go up tomorrow afternoon because it's an absolutely stunning view of Paris. So we are currently leaving the roundabouts and Pau did an excellent job. Can we show some love? Beautiful.
Every angle.
Every angle.
There you go. Please see roundabouts. Don't you worry, we're going to try and take you here tomorrow morning as well. So you get a little bit of evening light and a little bit of morning light. But that is absolutely stunning. The Arc de Triomphe sits on the roundabout and has 12 avenues coming together. So this place, or this roundabout, is now called Charles de Gaulle, but used to be called Place d'Étoile, or Star Square. That's because if you look at it from an aerial point of view, so even on Google Maps, you can see that this roundabout is basically like a huge star. There's 12 avenues coming together, and it creates a big old star. Now, we have turned off of Place Charles de Gaulle or Place d'Étoile, and we are now driving down Champs-Élysées. Les Champs-Élysées, you may have heard of the song, but it's pretty much the most famous... Do you want to sing, Gary? I think you do.
Sorry. Give me the microphone. Give me the microphone.
Feel it. I can give it a try. Oh, Champs-Élysées. Beautiful Champs-Élysées. Na 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 na. Anyway, I will save you the sorrow of listening to hear me sing. So Champs-Élysées is the most famous street in Paris. It's also one of the most expensive streets. It is the third most expensive retail location in the world, only after Causeway Bay in Hong Kong and Fifth Avenue in New York City. So this is a very, very expensive place. Basically, on either side of the street, you will see flagship stores of well-known brands. Don't worry, gals, that's not the only location here. But sorry, they just got distracted by the Louis Vuitton store. It's coming up on your right. Don't you worry. Yeah, so Champs-Élysées, the word Champs-Élysées is a bit complicated, but it actually comes from Elysian Fields. Elysian Fields are a phenomenon in Greek mythology. Basically, the Elysian Fields were seen as the afterlife, as the most beautiful place you could go after you died. So it was something to aspire to, kind of what people think of nowadays when they think of heaven. But yeah, the Greeks didn't believe in heaven, so they believed in the Champs-Élysées, the Elysian Fields. And when the city of Paris was redesigned and they created this beautiful Champs-Élysées, they decided to have it be as beautiful as it potentially could be, which is difficult for a shopping street. It's kind of hard to keep that clean. But there's actually a special committee that's dedicated to keeping the Champs-Élysées the way it is. So every single storefront has to fit certain criteria to fit in. So I would recommend you go for a bit of a stroll down here tomorrow. You may have seen the Louis Vuitton on the right-hand side. Actually, like, they repackage these like stores at least twice a year, by the way. It changes all the freaking time. So a couple of months ago, it was completely white with colored polka dots because it was in collaboration with a Japanese artist that's known for her polka dots artwork. So there you go. They change it every now and again. But this is the place for your flagship stores because the rent is so ridiculously sky high. Not everybody can afford to be here. So of course you have your Louis Vuitton, you have your Gucci, you have your Prada, you have your McDonald's, you got your Five Guys, you know, just the basics, truly. You got your Cartier, the beautiful like jewelry store. However, for some of these stores you need to make an appointment beforehand to go inside. So you need to make an appointment. You will be escorted inside by security. And then you have a private shopping assistant while you go inside. So it's only for the higher end stores. For the other ones you can just go inside. No biggie whatsoever. streets, patrolling up and down. Littering here is a big no-no. So the special committee that I mentioned before, if they see you litter, they will find you or they will kick you out of the streets. They are pretty strict on it. But yeah, Champs-Élysées long shopping street is basically part of one of the many Parisian axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry was something that was basically designed during the revamp of Paris in the 1830s. So what Napoleon III and Baron Haussmann did is they created a grid system of the city with very long, like uninterrupted views. So for example, I'm going to duck down again. If you look straight through the front windshield all the way down, you might see a very shiny golden tip in the distance. Can you see it? Yeah, that's La Concorde, which is Freedom Square. That golden tip is part of the obelisk of Luxor. This was actually more about that later. But that like little thingamajiggy in the back, cool. Now turn your heads and look through the back window. And you see the Arc de Triomphe. Do you see that? It is one huge uninterrupted line. And it doesn't stop at the Arc de Triomphe. It goes about 5 kilometers further down to La Défense, which is the finance district. So there's about 8.5 kilometers of uninterrupted view, and that is the axis of symmetry. And you see about 7 of them throughout the city of Paris. This is definitely the biggest one. Also, it doesn't even finish right there at the golden shiny tip. It goes all the way down to the Louvre museums. So there's basically 3 arches right here in the middle with the Arc de Triomphe, the Triumph Arch, in La Défense, the finance district, in the Grand Arch, or the Big Arch, and then all the way in front of the Louvre Museum, you have another one. So there's 3 arches, and that's one big axis of symmetry. So there you go. Keep an eye out in Paris. So basically, long interrupted views, stunning, beautiful. Because we cannot go all the way to the shiny golden tip, we're going to tell you a little bit about it. But it is Place de la Concorde. Place de la Concorde, like I just said, is called Freedom Square. This is where, during the French Revolution, they put up the guillotine. So during the French Revolution, they had a certain tower that was particularly deadly. They called it the Reign of Terror, when a man named Robespierre would basically decapitate anybody that was against his system. And yeah, so where the obelisk is right now is the guillotine, and they killed a couple thousand people in one summer. Very grotesque, actually. Yeah, cool, good stuff. The French were quite bloody. Then again, like the guillotine gets a bad rep. Let's talk about this. The guillotine was actually pretty like humanitarian. It was actually quite friendly. What they used to do before is they would just have, you know, like a push block and somebody do a little chop chop. However, that's not very sharp, so it takes multiple cuts to get through the neck, right? Kind of gross. So what they did instead, the guillotine is originally not even French. It actually already existed in England and in Scotland for certain executions and punishments, whether it be like cutting off a hand or a neck, you know, same, but different. But the French revolutionized it. So a man named Guillotine, he took the instrument, named it after himself, and he made it very big, and then with the knife up top, kind of like this, at a bias, so when it would cut down, it would cut through the flesh and the sinew way faster and more efficiently. So people will die instantly, rather than, you know, dying a slow death and bleeding out. So there you go, the guillotine was actually quite quote-unquote friendly, question mark? But yeah, the French love the guillotine. Actually, capital punishment, so death sentence in France wasn't outlawed until 1979, so still pretty recent. However, the last death by guillotine was in 1972. There you go, so 52 years ago they last executed somebody with a guillotine, and that was it. Also, really? It's an emergency toilet, y'all. We see you. If there's no more toilet capacity on the drive back to London, oof, we'll find you.
There are all the boys getting up.
Anyway, small bladders. Cool, yeah, back to the city tour. So, guillotine, Place de la Concorde. I'm going to sit down again because, like I said, Pablo and I are improvising. We're just kind of like driving through Paris and we'll see where we end up. But in a second, you'll see a little bit more of the Eiffel Tower. So keep your eyes peeled, keep your phone cameras out. You get a side view today. Actually, let's talk about the Eiffel Tower. Remember we were in Berlin a couple weeks ago? Yeah, cool. Just keep that in mind. Let's go back to that later. Eiffel Tower. So, have you ever seen those weird freaky TLC shows where people are attracted to inanimate objects? Yeah, so there was a lady, well, she's still alive. There is a lady, her name is Erica Eiffel. Erica Eiffel came to Paris one fateful day, and she saw the Eiffel Tower, and she was so enamored, she instantly fell in love. and she actually married the Eiffel Tower on top of the Eiffel Tower. Freaky ass, I know. So they made a whole documentary about her, but then again, like, we don't kink shame over here. So Erica Eiffel, happily married to the tower, and then about 9 months ago, like, the heartbreaking news broke. Erica Eiffel was gonna get divorced from the Eiffel Tower. I know, that love story for the ages is done for. Yeah, I had a little cry when I heard about it. But yeah, Erica Eiffel, this was not her first stint with inanimate objects. She used to be in a relationship with the Berlin Wall, but obviously that crumbled. Come on, adultery. Actually, I'm going to sit down again so you can see the tower. So yeah, the Eiffel Tower, it is pretty much the postcard image of Paris, if not France. Like, it is one of those structures that literally everybody recognizes. No matter where you are in the world, if you show a picture of the tower on our 11 o'clock right now, people will recognize the tower. However, this tower was not supposed to be here permanently. It was supposed to be a temporary exhibition. Back in the day, I'm talking 17, 18, 1900s, all these European cities would like to really show off their wealth and their architects and their art to other cities and to other countries. They called it a World Expo or a World Exhibition. Now, in 1887, there was going to be a World Expo right here in Paris, and there was an engineer from the city of Dijon in the south of France. Dijon, yes, as in the mustard, and he decided that, you know what, I got a vision for a beautiful tower, and we're going to name it after myself. His name was Gustave Eiffel. So Gustave Eiffel pitched this idea to the city of Paris, and the people hated it. They were thinking, what is this ugly structure? Nah, we're not going to pay for that. So we started a bit of crowdfunding, and Gustave Eiffel actually supplied 80% of the funds himself. Other 20% he could collect from other wealthy people in the city, so that was sorted. And they started building the Eiffel Tower in 1887. It took 2 years to be completed. It was finished in 1889, and when it was complete, it was the tallest structure in the world at 300 meters tall. It is no longer the tallest structure in the world, but back in the day, that was an absolute feat of architecture. It was super impressive, and it was supposed to be a temporary exhibition. Sorry? Oh. Cool. If you look back to the left, you see a tunnel.
Oh no.
That's the tunnel where Princess Diana died in 1997. Yeah, sorry to break that to you like that. Again, we're improvising, y'all. It's gonna be hectic as roll with it. Yeah, so in 1997, when Princess Diana and her private driver, who she was rumored to have had an affair with, but nothing was confirmed or denied, they were chasing. Actually, they were being chased by a paparazzi car, and they went into this tunnel, and that's where they crashed. So unfortunately, Princess died instantly, and they put a beautiful, big, golden monument there, like on top of the tunnel to commemorate Princess Di, because she was well loved, not just by the English, but by the whole world. Cool. What do you want to know about? Should we go back to the tower? I can talk about the tower for half an hour. Cool. I give a thumbs up. Amazing. Yeah, so back to the tower. It took 2 years to build. When I was there, it was supposed to only be there for 6 months. 6 months total for this temporary exhibition. However, even though people hated it at first so much, they started to realize this actually, it was pretty darn cool, and it drew in a lot of tourism. A lot of people went to Paris to go see the Eiffel Tower. So what was supposed to be only 6 months turned into a permanent installation, a permanent exhibition, and Gustave Eiffel made back his investments in like 2 months' time. So there was a very smart business decision on his front. So back to Gustave Eiffel. Gustave Eiffel, the name itself might not ring any bells, but you would, well, you may have to know that he was actually one of the engineers that helped design the Statue of Liberty in New York City, which is a gift from France to the Americans. So Gustave Eiffel has cool things in his portfolio. So well done him. Yeah, Eiffel Tower, it is made up of over 18,000 individual metal pieces. 18,000 million pieces. And it is held together by over 2.5 million rivets. So you can imagine this took quite a bit of work to create. Also, repainting that thing is a hell of a job. Originally, the tower was actually yellow. Pastel yellow. Yeah, hard to imagine now, but the pastel yellow was seen as a very bright and inviting color. However, yellow used to be a very expensive paint color, so they couldn't keep up with paint job every 6 years. So they decided to change to a rusty brown that it still is to this day. So they've kept that up for about like 100 or so years, which is great. But yeah, it takes about 60,000 tons of paint to redo that every 6 years. So again, a big job. Also, the Eiffel Tower has undergone a couple like reconstructions throughout the years. As you can imagine, because it's iron, it's metal, it expands and then it contracts again depending on the heat. So a little bit of adjustment had to be made throughout the years. All the scrap metal that was left over from the tower was actually kept, and up until this year they didn't really have a specific purpose for it, but all the Olympic and Paralympic medals contain a piece of the Eiffel Tower. So every single silver, gold, and bronze medal has a little hexagon in the middle of the medal, and that is a piece of the Eiffel Tower, the original piece of the Eiffel Tower. The hexagon is also a symbol for France, because when you look at France on a map and you kind of zoom out, it roughly looks like the hexagon. So there you go. The shape of France, made by a piece of the Eiffel Tower, right there in your Olympic medal from Paris 2024, which is pretty darn neat. Alright, actually, the monument to Princess Di that I was just talking about is at our 11 o'clock. So if you can look just straight there in front of the trees, you will see a golden artwork that is in honor of Princess Di, Princess of Wales. We're on top of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're currently on top of the tunnel where Princess Di perished, unfortunately. Again, I'm going to sit down so you can look at the tower. Bam, straight ahead. There she is. Yeah. I call her she because she's nicknamed the Iron Lady. La Dame de Fer, the Iron Lady. So there she is. Take some good photos, y'all. Take it all in. Actually, in the front, you can kind of see it from the side here. There's also the 5 Olympic rings on the Eiffel Tower at the front, just for the games, of course. They put it up about 2 months ago, and they're going to take it down in another month when the Paralympic Games are done. So yeah, they are really milking the Eiffel Tower for the games as well, by the way. Where we started, where you caught your first glimpse before the bleachers were obstructing the view of the tower, that's where the opening ceremony was held. So the tower, then you have Pont Vienna, which is a bridge crossing the river. Then you have the Trocadero Gardens. That was the location for the opening ceremony. So there you go. Pretty darn neat. Basically what Paris, the city, has done for the games is that they've kind of monopolized every single major like monument or building that is aesthetic and recognizable as Paris, and they've used that to make it like a backdrop for the games, which is pretty cool. So even when you saw, I don't know if anybody was like the athletics or something, you see like a beautiful gold dome church in the background, and like you see the tower in like many of the games in the background, which is fantastic. It's aesthetic. I don't blame them. Something else they did for the game specifically, actually we're currently on a bridge, but underneath the bridge there is water, which is a river. Shocking. I know, crazy. This is the River Seine. The River Seine is the one that flows through Paris. The Seine is notoriously dirty. It became illegal to swim in the river in 1923 because the levels of E. coli were way too high. So it is strongly discouraged to swim in the river. Also, it's illegal. You will get fined. But Anne Hidalgo, so the mayor of Paris, she actually decided to invest heaps of money into cleaning up the Seine River. There's a bit of controversy around this topic because they've spent over €1 billion in cleaning up the Thames. Also, this river is like 700 kilometers long, like 777 kilometers long, so it's a long ass river to clean up. But basically, over 1.3 billion euros were invested, and the Parisians were not too happy because, as you can imagine, like that money could be used for a lot of different things, whether it be, like improving the roads or schools or funding like other things. They used it to clean the river, and in true French spirit, they decided to counteract this for some reason. Because, side note, I think that the attempt to clean the river is actually a really good thing because, again, it's been illegal to swim this river for over 100 years. If the river is clean again, the actual Parisians can enjoy this river, right? They can swim in it, they can use it in summer, especially with this heat, because God knows that also right here in Paris, there's barely any air conditioning. So it would be fantastic if this river is finally clean enough to swim in again. However, the French had different ideas, and they started a campaign, which in English, it's actually so ridiculous. It is #IShitInTheSeine, and it was a website where you could go to, and depending on your location, it would calculate when you would have to take a shit in the river for your shit to arrive right here in Paris for the Olympic opening ceremony. Yeah, it's pretty rank. So, gotta love the French. So that's what it did. So, actually, like a bunch of people swam in the river to prove that it was clean enough. Like the mayor did. Yeah, the mayor and Emmanuel Macron were going to swim in the river, but like the levels have significantly improved. It's not like super duper clean just yet, but it is way better than it used to be. And I think if the Frenchies had not done their little shit in the river stint, it'd be even cleaner. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. But yeah, the River Seine, because it is illegal to swim in it, of course, you've got to cross it some way somehow. There are 37 bridges within the vicinity of Paris that cross the river, which is helpful, Actually, if you look to the left-hand side right now, you'll see a big glass dome. Do we all see it? That is the Grand Palais, or the Big Palace. Remember the World Expo I spoke about when explaining the Eiffel Tower? Yeah, so there was a World Expo in 1896 as well, right here in Paris, and they decided to build a couple different buildings all at the same time. So if you look at that glass dome building, as well as the bridge on your left-hand side with the 4 golden statues, 2 on either side, this is actually where Adele filmed her music video for Someone Like You. You know, black and white when she crosses the bridge, super dramatic. That's right here. If you look to the right hand side, you'll see another axis of symmetry. In the distance you see Hotel des Invalides, which literally means Hotel of the Invalids or the Handicapped. This was a residence built for injured soldiers. It was built by Louis XIV, the Sun King, yeah, back in the 1700s. And this was the very first attempt of a monarch actually giving back to the people after they fought for them in wars and died and perished and got injured. Anyway, back to the left side of the river. So we had the Grand Palais, we had the Pont Alexandre III, where Adele filmed the music video, and then also behind those trees, kind of hidden away, is the Petit Palais, the small palace, which is kind of a carbon copy of the Grand Palais, just slightly smaller. And a little hot tip for you right there, the Petit Palais is a municipal museum, meaning it is free. It is completely free to enter. There's a beautiful art collection. If you're into that type of stuff at all, it's actually my favorite museum in the city, and completely free to go into. So there you go, a little tip from me to you. We have Petit Palais, very small. The Grand Palais, huge, big glass dome. Actually, if anybody here watches the Tour de France or like cycling at all, they did a leg, I think it was 2017, where they did a leg of the race through Grand Palais, which is pretty fantastic, so that was cool. If you look to the right hand side, you will see a bunch of columns. This is the National Assembly. National Assembly was the new point of government for France right after the French Revolution. So, French Revolution, no more monarch, what do we do now? Who's going to rule the country? Let's install a National Assembly. Nowadays it's not called National Assembly anymore, but no, it's just like the parliament that holds house right there in the National Assembly building. A little more about French Revolution. 14th of July, 1789. The people have had enough. When I say enough, I mean the economy is like going to shit, right? We have Louis XVI, we have Marie Antoinette. They are just spending like there's no tomorrow. They're walking around France with their big, beautiful, tall, white wigs that are so dirty that there's like bird's nest in there. In order to not smell so bad, they have like solid cubes of perfume that they would stick in there, and then during the day they would sweat and the sun would shine down, it would slowly melt, so they would have like a liquid perfume and it wouldn't smell so bad. Anyway, these 2 people, they were so delulu, they thought that they were doing great and that people loved them. In reality, only 6% of the royal coffers were going to the people, like infrastructure, education, etc. And about 30% was going to the military, and everything else was going to the monarchs. This was not like a one-time thing. This has been happening systematically for years and years and years. So people were fed up. We had a bunch of monarchs back to back, and then on the 14th of July, they decided that, you know what, it is enough. Has anybody seen Les Miserables, the movie or the musical or any of that? Do you hear people sing the song of Angry Men? Yeah. So what people did is they went to the Bastille. The Bastille was a prison, a bit further to the east, like northeast, right here. And the Bastille was a prison, like a political prison, and it also held a bunch of arms, so weapons. And the people decided to storm the Bastille. It was more so a symbol or like a sign of their discontent, but in reality there was only about 7 prisoners in at the moment, so it wasn't very effective. But yeah, the people stormed the Bastille, and this was the official start of the French Revolution. And this is also where, you know, like the whole protesting thing that the French still do to this day kind of comes from. But yeah, the French Revolution, was supposed to be a kickstart to a new age, a new era of the people having the power. So the slogan was Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, liberty, equality, and brotherhood. That was the slogan of the French Revolution. It was a beautiful sentiment. However, if you have only lived under the rule of monarchs for hundreds of years, people don't really know what to do in the meantime. When all of that goes away, who's in charge, who's going to lead, that's where the National Assembly kicks in. So people were thinking, you know what, we're going to do it ourselves, we're going to create our own history, we're going to create our own rules. Unfortunately, with great power comes great responsibility, and people with great power, they didn't use it too well. So that's where the man named Robespierre came in. He was a man with a vision, he was a big anti-monarch, he was all for the people, but he got power hungry, and he was the one that kind of started like a semi-dictatorship, because he was not officially a dictator, but he was the one that kick-started the reign of terror. So the ones where all the people died by the guillotine, basically. At some point, the followers of Robespierre realized, like, yo, this man's evil, he's not good. You know what, I think he needs a little haircut. Chop chop. So they put him underneath the guillotine, Robespierre, done. Bam, over. Then again, country in disarray. What do we do now? basically, long story short, it kickstarted about 12 years, going up and down between peace, discontent, storming of numerous buildings, and like the revolution, like going up and down, up and down, up and down. It wasn't like a one-time thing, like, all right, cool, all problems solved. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But yeah, cool. So many of the buildings in the city still relate to the French Revolution in one way, shape, or form. There's many museums dedicated to different parts of the revolution, different effects it had. There's still multiple columns and monuments dedicated to the revolution. It can be the 1830 revolution, it can be the 1789 revolution, 1792, 1793, you name it, there's heaps. Cool. We are currently actually driving on the other side of the river, which is quite nice. We are getting close-ish, I believe, to the Latin Quarter. Yeah, so the whole revamp of Paris that I spoke about, there was only one place of the city, one area, one arrondissement, one neighborhood that was left untouched, and it is the Latin Quarter. The Latin Quarter is the oldest part of the city, and it is named after, Latin Quarter, I guess it, Latin, which was the language that was used at the university. This was the university district of the city, and the university in question was Sorbonne University. Still to this day, a very prestigious university right here in France. But the Latin Quarter, it housed all the professors, all the students, and the language that was used at universities up until like late 1800s was Latin. So not the common tongue, not French, not English, just Latin. So you have to be very wealthy and privileged and have to come from like a wealthy background in order to attend university. So the Latin Quarter, that is the place of Paris where you have the cobblestone streets, the windy roads, the alleyways, and it's not as laid out as the rest of the city. So from here on out, if you go from here back to the river, that's when you kind of like dug into the Latin Quarter. So you can already still see like a couple little alleyways here and there, some cobblestones left, right, and center. But the Latin Quarter is a beautiful little area. Still the university is here. It is also home to the Pantheon. And no, not the Pantheon in Rome, but there's also a Pantheon right here in Paris. However, in Paris, it was not built as a place of worship to all the gods. It was built as a mausoleum, so a place to bury the greatest heroes of France. There's unfortunately only 2 women buried in there, which is a bit of a bummer. One of them is Marie Curie. Marie Curie was the very first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and she attended and lectured right here in Sorbonne University in the Latin Quarter, which is also why she was entombed right here in the Pantheon, which is pretty darn cool. Yeah, you can go inside the Pantheon, which is quite beautiful. You can walk around Sorbonne. The faculties are kind of spread out throughout the Latin district, the Latin Quarter, and you can kind of make your way through. It's very, very pretty. Also, for my book lovers around here, there's also a bookstore called Shakespeare & Co., which is very, very famous. It is an English bookstore that has been here for almost 100 years now. There used to be a different Shakespeare & Co., however, the lady that ran it, she was unfortunately deported during the Second World War because she had Jewish heritage. Then in 1949, there was a man, an American guy, who came to Paris and he wanted to honor her memory. He started a new Shakespeare & Co. But Shakespeare & Co. is basically, it is known to have inspired artists such as Ernest Hemingway. He loved to come here, would write, would lecture, would give readings, etc. So yeah, Shakespeare & Co. is a beautiful little bookstore. It is also right next to the Seine, so right next to the river, by the way. And I'm actually going to dump down again because I want to point some more things out to you. Cool, yeah, so like I said, close to the Seine, but the Latin Quarter is right on the river, and inside the river there's actually 2 natural islands. There are 2 natural islands in the Seine River. One of them is called Ile de la Cité, which translates to Island of the City, and the other one is Ile Saint Louis, which means Island of St. Louis, one of the many things. If you look to the left, you'll see a small little triangle-shaped square. This is Place Saint-Michel. If you look back, you see the front of the building, and that is the fountain dedicated to Archangel Michael. This was actually supposed to be called Place Napoleon, after Napoleon Bonaparte. But after he fell and died, people didn't really love him as much anymore, so they decided to make it a religious type of thing. Cool, we are now going to cross the River Seine again. If you look to the right, on the left side of the river, you see a beautiful church. This is the Notre Dame. This is the main church of Paris. It is a Gothic church, so if you remember Prague, and if you remember St. Vitus Cathedral, very different type of style of Gothic architecture. But yeah, Notre Dame translates to Our Lady, which is a very common name of churches. Notre Dame, it took almost 200 years to build. 200 years. They started construction in 1192 and they finished in 1363. So almost 2 centuries of building the beautiful building. And then in 2019, unfortunately, it kind of burned down. Most of the roof and like all the wooden structure like burned to a crisp. So they really kick-started the rebuild a couple of years ago because they wanted it to be like back into pristine condition for the Olympic Games, which they did, by the way. It's still difficult to go inside, but yeah, like you can still admire the Notre Dame from the outside, which is fantastic. But yeah, Notre Dame, beautiful. It was what inspired Victor Hugo's novels about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Anyone seen the Disney movie? Yeah, cute, eh? So yeah, it was set in Notre Dame. It inspired many artists. And again, like this was the main church of Ile de la Cité, so the island of the city, which we are on right now. Ile de la Cité is where Paris actually started. The very first bricks were laid right here. What happened, there was a tribe, they're called the Parisi tribe. I'm going to get down again because I want to point some things out. The Parisi tribe, they first made their way over to France and they saw this island as a natural stronghold of the city. So this is where the city started. During the Middle Ages, this was the epicenter of culture, of religion, basically everything. So hence why they need the beautiful cathedral. If you look to the left, this building is called the Conciergerie. The Conciergerie is a former royal residence, a former palace, but also a former prison, and that is where Marie Antoinette was kept before she was decapitated. So that's the Conciergerie. If you look to the left and you keep looking to the left hand side of the river, that is the Conciergerie all the way down with little towers. So there you go, we're crossing the river again. Bam. Now we're back on the right bank. We are currently in the fourth arrondissement, also known as Le Marais. This is half bougie. Are y'all dying in the back? Damn. I'll keep my distance. So Le Marais, or the fourth arrondissement, is like half bougie because it's home to Hotel de Ville, which is basically just the municipal hall, or like town hall, but it's also quite up and coming. The fourth is the best area for thrifting. Anybody want to go thrifting? Yeah, amazing thrift stores right here in Le Marais. Would highly recommend. Also, you got some really cool, like cute little cafes that are nice to attend. Again, like the bistros I mentioned earlier today, think like on a corner, like the two little seats next to each other, looking out, having your cheap glass of vin or wine. That's what Le Marais is good for. Beautiful little area. I want to point your attention back to the right side of the coach. Just where you're looking at right now, that is again Ile de la Cité. So a little bit more about it. Like I said, this is where the city started. It was the epicenter of culture for about 500 years, for a long time. Actually, at one point in history, there was a man, his name was Attila the Hun. Ever heard of him? Yeah, so Attila the Hun had gathered word that Paris was very much up and coming. It was very powerful. So he actually wanted to, he wanted a slice of that sweet Paris pie, should we say. So he tried to make his way over to Paris. However, there was a lady from here, her name was Genevieve, and she had a vision. And God came to her in her dreams. And she said, you know what, Attila the Hun is coming, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pray. We're all going to get together and we're going to pray. So that's what they did. People got together right here in the Cité and they all started praying real hard. And lo and behold, Attila the Hun turned around and went back to Mongolia. What was that about? We're not so sure. But yeah, it worked. And people were like, oh man, Genevieve, she's fantastic. We'll make her a saint. And she's now the patron saint of the city of Paris. On the left, Notre Dame once more. Ta-ta-ta-da. There she is. So yeah, two big towers at the front sides, and then on the side of the building, towards the back, which is not visible from here, but if you walk past it, you can see it. You have the flying buttresses, aka the support beams that we've also seen that's hit by this cathedral. So it's like the thin little bars that kind of, you know, like fold over like a banana to support the nave or the ship, the main parts of the church, and that's what allowed them to get so tall, basically, to build so tall. So there you go, 6'8" meters tall, bam, beautiful. She looks great. She's still kind of like hidden away from view because she's not fully done, but fair enough, most of it. Also, on the left hand side, this is like what I mean by like Parisian little bistros and cafes. Behind here, behind these buildings, that is where Shakespeare & Co. is, the little bookstore that I mentioned earlier. They also have a little cafe, which is a fantastic location. Even if you don't love reading or don't want to buy a book, you can get like a coffee at the cafe and just sit outside and look over the Notre Dame, which is fantastic. So we are now cruising through the Latin Quarter. This is the oldest part of Paris. So the streets are more narrow. They're not as many views as we had on the other side of the river, but it's still pretty darn fantastic. Oh, I'm out of breath, y'all. Let me take a sip of water. Sure, why not?
Doing great, continue.
Huh?
Doing great, please continue.
This is unhinged at this point.
Out of nowhere.
Also, can you understand anything I'm saying? Am I talking too fast?
No.
I don't know if you get it, but like I love Paris. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah, so there's so much stuff to point out, y'all. So yeah, anyway, a whole whatever, unhinged? I don't know. I'm completely sober, by the way. So yeah, Latin Quarter, one of my favorite areas of the city. On the map that I started earlier today, I have been a couple little areas. So the purple areas, big purple square, that is the Latin Quarter, where I highly recommend you go for a bit of a walk tomorrow. Also there's multiple metro stations here, so you can take the metro straight back to the hotel. So if you want to finish your afternoon here, that's what I would personally recommend. Also something that's pretty cool, it's just adjacent to the Latin Quarter, it's a little bit down south. I was just talking to Gareth about it earlier today, but you may have heard of the catacombs of Paris. Sorry man, didn't mean to call you out like that, but yeah, so the catacombs of Paris are a very popular sight to see. Basically, the catacombs are a underground tunnel network that like stretches all across the city. Literally everywhere you will walk today and tomorrow, underneath there's a tunnel system. And the catacombs, hold that thought, in the catacombs. There we go. So remember Marie Curie? Yeah. Cool, so look straight ahead, that's the Pantheon, that's where she's buried. So, left hand side. Bam. It says, Au grand homme, la patrie reconnaissant. Basically it means, to the great people, the fatherland recognizes. So this is a big mausoleum to the heroes of France. They actually cleaned the building. It is very crisp and very clean. Again, this was all done for the Olympics, y'all. Paris was always a beautiful city, but because they hosted the Olympics, they started cleaning things like a month ago, like there's no tomorrow. So everything's been like, firstly, like power washed. This is all made from limestone. Limestone from the surrounding area, which is Île-de-France, which is the region of France we're in right now. It means island of France. But yeah, this is all like natural limestone that was found underneath us. So yeah, there you go. Pantheon. Oh yeah, there you go. So we get to the back and you can already see it's not as clean anymore. Kind of gave up, you know?
Yeah.
Just whatever people see, that's what we're gonna clean. Also, you may have seen it. It was all over Instagram a couple months ago, but they were basically like sort of upcycling, if you will, all the metro stations, and they would just like spray paint over like moldy stains, as if that's gonna take it away. But, you know, yeah, cool. So this is the heart of the Latin Quarter. Beautiful. You can feel it. We're driving on cobblestones. It's a European way. What was I talking about? Catacombs. Yes, so catacombs. Right, so the catacombs were born out of necessity. Like I said, when we tried first settle on the day, then Paris got bigger and bigger, and some of the homes turned away. Paris continued to grow. We became a huge city. So we get to about the 1600s, like 400 or 500 years ago, and the city slowly starts to sink a little bit. The foundations were not very deep, again similar to Pisa, similar to Italy, so people didn't really think it through when they were first starting to build these beautiful, grand, larger-than-life buildings. So the city started to sink, and everybody stuck their heads together and they were thinking, oh god, what are we going to do? Because we cannot have this stuff sinking, right? What is there to do? And then there was a very smart engineer, and he came up with the idea to basically build a support system, but underground. Basically, there's strength in arches. Arches are the most structural, like, strongest form. So he designed an idea to create a tunnel system underneath the streets of Paris, and this would basically hold up the city, literally. So it would be foundations, but made after the fact. So the buildings would already be there, they'd start to dig, and they would have to make their way out from the outside to the inside. So they started building those, and that was great, but then there was another issue, because Paris had grown so much, there were so many people. At this time, pretty much everybody was religious, so what they would do if somebody died, they wouldn't like burn the body, they would bury them. So there was heaps of cemeteries all over the city, but they were full. They were chock full. There was no more space for any more dead bodies to be buried at those cemeteries. So they decided to kill two birds with one stone. And they were thinking, you know what? Why don't we just dig up all of these graves, we clean the bones and remains, and we stick them in the tunnels. Ta-da! Genius. And that's what they did. So they decided to start digging up a bunch of cemeteries, and this also had a ripple effect because, like I said before the whole reno of Paris in the 1830s, Paris was very dirty. There was a lot of illnesses spreading throughout the city, and this was also partly due to cemeteries and dead bodies and the way they were handled and how it was not very clean. So, for example, they would bury bodies but not deep enough, so they wouldn't go 3 meters underground. Nah, it would be like 20 centimeters underground. So this way, like, infections started to spread, illnesses, diseases, etc., etc. So they started clearing up the cemeteries, putting the bones in tunnels. Then there was one freaky dude that decided, you know what, this is not very pretty, I'm gonna make it artistic. So he decided to create a bunch of like layered, like walls almost with the bones. So he would stack, like, he'd get like all the femur bones, and then he would like clean them, stick them all together, make a wall. And then he'd do the same with the skulls, do the same thing. And they would kind of like position them in a cool way so they would look like a flower, and then he put like a couple other bones on the side, there's like the petals. They got very creative with it. So that was happening down in the tunnels. In the meantime, you know, at ground level, they were cleaning up the cemeteries, and Paris started to get more clean. Not as many people would get sick. They also started figuring out that, you know, things like the plague and stuff spread quicker and faster when personal hygiene is bad. On another note, you may have heard of all the rats in Paris. Anybody seen Ratatouille? Yeah, based on a true story, y'all. Except not really. But the whole thing about rats in Paris, that is very, very true. I remember the first time I went to Paris, it was 2018. Me and a friend, we got on a cheap Flixbus for like €8, which is like hours and hours overnight to get to Paris, as cheap as we could. And we were at the Eiffel Tower and had this whole moment of, wow, this is amazing. And I heard a little bit of rustling to my right, and I look over, and I see the biggest rat I've ever seen in my entire life, just munching on some leftover baguettes. I'm like, ah, that's great, cool. Anyway, so there's a lot of rats, and that's partly because the city is so old, but also because the Parisians were dumb. What they did in the year 1730, so this was a full like 50 years after they finished the whole catacomb, the underground system, with like all the skeletons and cleared up all the cemeteries, they decided, you know what, the plague? Control cats. Not the rats, not cats. Cats are the culprit right here. And we had the Great Cat Massacre of 1730. Yeah, there was a group of vigilantes, and they took it upon themselves to murder as many cats in the city as they could, which they did, which allowed the rat population to flourish. There you go. Like, my theory is because of that. Cat massacre led to all the rats in Paris, but also because, like, we're close to the river, it's an old city, old foundations, etc. It makes sense. Yeah, just one last thing about the catacombs. So the catacombs underground tunnel system, it worked. It succeeded. It worked very, very well. Paris stopped sinking, and all these tunnels, there's hundreds of kilometers of tunnels, and the issue is it's not completely mapped out. Because when it was first designed, the engineer decided that, you know what, this is also dangerous because we don't want people to go in here. So what we'll do is we will not make a map and we'll just close it off to people. However, where there is a will, there is a way, and of course people make their way into the tunnels. So throughout the years, a lot of people have kind of squatted there, camped out. In the 70s and 80s, when the punk movement was really big in France, a bunch of punkers would go down into the tunnels and rave. Good fun until you cannot find your way back, so quite a few people died in those tunnels. So they decided to close it fully to the public. All the known entrances were blocked off, and they did a big clear out for all the tunnel system. And now they've opened up a couple kilometers worth of tunnels to the public. So those are the catacombs of Paris, which you can go into to this day, which is pretty darn cool and fantastic. So Paris, there's more than meets the eye. I already spoke to a few of you today. People tend to want to hate Paris, like hating Paris is almost personality traits. My goal here is to show you all that there is something here for everybody in the city, because the city is so big, so big. There's so many buildings, there's so many stories, history. Wherever you look, you just gotta know where to look and where to find those stories. And I truly think there's something for everybody in the city. Like, it is known as, well, incorrectly, the city of love. It really is not known as the city of love. It's actually the city of lights. Also, it's not because of, like, the big buildings or the Eiffel Tower, because long before that was installed in the Eiffel Tower, it was already known as the City of Lights. But that's because Paris was actually the very first European city to install like lights on the streets. So this also greatly improved the safety of the system, which is fantastic. So there you go, City of Lights, City of Love, whatever you want to call it. It is up to you. But either way, I hope you will find something beautiful to enjoy while you spend some time in this city. shit. Thank you. That's the most unhinged thing I've ever done.
Shit, yo.
Great timing with this song too. Damn. Did we do that for an hour? Was that an hour?
Hour, 3 minutes.
Damn. Straight ahead, you will see our destination for this evening. This is Tour Montparnasse, or Montparnasse Tower. This is a 210-meter tall skyscraper that was built in 1973. It was been voted the ugliest building in Paris on multiple occasions. But that's fine, because when you're up that building, you don't see it. What we're going to do is, since the building is 60 stories high, we're going to go to level 56, and then we're going to go enjoy the panoramic views of the city of Paris. So what we'll do when we hop off is we're going to have to go inside through sort of like an airport style security. So if you have any big bags, please leave them on the coach. You cannot take anything bigger than like an A4 size piece of paper. So we go through security, then you just wait for me in the lobby. I'm going to run upstairs, I'm going to get our tickets sorted, and then they will direct you to go upstairs with the elevators. They will put you in the elevators like big bunches. You make it all the way to the top, and I'll wait for you at the top and get you a little ticket so you can go through the turnstiles and then enjoy the views. There's also a rooftop terrace, so you can even like walk up one set of stairs to go even higher, and you go outside. So beautiful for photos, would highly recommend. That's Tour Montparnasse. Yeah, there you go. Also, it is 210 meters tall. There's actually a rule right here in Paris that not a single building can be like taller than the Eiffel Tower, which makes sense because it's supposed to stay the postcard image of Paris. So there you go, shorter than the Eiffel Tower. Not as beautiful, but it is functional. It's mostly office buildings, like it's just like office space. Actually, like I think about a third of it is empty because it's so expensive due to its location and views. Like you mostly pay for the views if you want to have your office in here. So like bougie people can afford to, but most people don't even bother. So yeah. When it comes to timings, when everybody has made their way upstairs and you have some free time to walk around, take some photos, they have a bar there if you want to get a cheeky little glass of champagne. That is absolutely fine, but I will send a time in a group chat that we're going to depart again. It does take a couple minutes to go down with the elevator, so please keep that in mind. There are also toilets upstairs, of course, and a little souvenir/gift shop, so you can go for a wander, have a glass of champagne, go for a little bit of shopping, then take the stairs up, take some cool photos, and then just be downstairs again at the time that I'm going to put into the group chat. So about tonight, I don't know what everybody's plans are. I will be brutally honest though, if you want to stay in town, the Eiffel Tower is near impossible to get to due to all the road closures. Also, it is a big walk, so I personally wouldn't recommend. If I could give you my 2 cents, feel free to disregard, I would say keep tonight as like a quiet one. Like a chill night. So use tonight to rest. I know many of you are not feeling too great, especially judging by the coughs that I've been hearing all day. So I'd suggest rest up for tonight and then make the most of your time tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be a big day in town. So that's what I'd recommend. One more time, I'm going to go inside. We're gonna go through security together. Then I'm gonna run up. You stay in the lobby, and then when the staff tells you, you can make your way upstairs in the elevators, and then we will enjoy the views. Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely fine.
She did some big deals.
Ooh. Do you mind if I leave this here for a second? Thank you. Merci, mon amour.
Thanks,
À
Pat.
bientôt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you. Merci. Thank you very much, Kev. Merci. Merci, sir. Monsieur. Yes, sir. Merci.
Thanks, Pat.
Merci.